In this presentation, we're going to enter new customers into QuickBooks Online, and we're also going to be entering the customer balances. In other words, we started a new QuickBooks Online file. We're going to enter the customers and say that we already have customers set up. We're not just going to enter the customers so that we can enter data in the future, however. We're going to say that these customers already owe us money. Therefore, we need to set up the beginning balance, and we need to set it up on the balance sheet as accounts receivable, money that's owed to us, and in subsidiary reports that's going to track who owes us the money, who owes us the receivable by customer. We'll enter this into QuickBooks Online. Here we are in our Get Great Guitars file. Let's first take a look at what our objective will be. To do that, we're going to take a look at our reports. So we're going to go down to the reports on the left-hand side. We're going to open one of our favorite reports, that being the balance sheet report. So we're going to go down to the favorite reports. We're going to be opening up the balance sheet report. I'm going to scroll up top. We're going to be entering this data as of 2020, or we're going to be entering it as of the end of 2019, the prior period, and then moving forward in 2020. So we're going to be entering data, the current data, into the current period, which is going to be 2020. So I'm going to run this from 01/01/20 to 12/31/20, the year of 2020, and I'm going to run that report. Then we're going to duplicate this report as has been our practice in the past. We're going to go up to the tab up top, right click on it, and duplicate it. So we're going to duplicate that tab so that we have the report on the right hand side, and we can do basically the data entry information on the left hand side and be able to bounce back and forth between the two. When considering the balance sheet, note that if we're starting a company that has been in process prior to us entering this information into QuickBooks Online, we're going to have to be entering the beginning balances. And you'll note that we entered the beginning balances for inventory last time. We didn't simply do it with a journal entry, however, because inventory needs to be supported by the reports. We need to be able to track the inventory that has been input into the system. The similar process is going to be true for the customers and the accounts receivable related to it. So the accounts receivable is another thing that we have to put on the books. We're going to say we already have the accounts receivable. However, we don't want to just enter a journal entry to put the accounts receivable on the books typically, because we want to have that supporting documentation about the customer. So in some way, shape, or form, as we enter this information, we want to support it with the backup documents in terms of who owes us the money. And QuickBooks won't even let us post to accounts receivable without assigning who owes us the money. So we're basically going to say that we have these clients then that owe us money. And so we're going to say we had this in our prior accounting system, whatever that may be. Maybe we downloaded it from a prior system, or maybe we were doing it by hand and whatnot. And we have these three clients and they owe us these amounts. And therefore, this is what we need to enter into the current system. That means that the total receivable on the books is going to be $20,500, and then it's going to be broken out by these three customers that owe us these three amounts respectively. So how would we do that? We're going to go back over to QuickBooks, and we're going to do this with the beginning balance kind of system. It's going to result in the same type of process where it's going to put the accounts receivable on the books and force the other side to go somewhere. So we're going to do that by adding our customers. So I'm going to go back to the first tab now. And we want to think about how can we enter or add the new customers into our system. So we're going to go to sales. Let's go to the sales, because the sales is going to be the customer cycle in essence. We're going to be selling to the customers. Then up top, we're looking at the customers. So we want to go to the customers tab up top. Now we don't have any customers yet because we just started the QuickBooks Online file. So you see this process here to just simply add the customers at this point in time. So we could start adding customers in this way, one at a time. Customer name, phone number, and email. And this may be the way you can go. This is the minimum information that you would need. Basically, the customer name is the minimum information you would need in order to post anything to accounts receivable. But customers are usually the individuals that you want more information on. You would like to have the minimum information of the phone number and the email so that you can basically email them and contact them with your newsletters and whatnot. So this is kind of the minimum information. You could enter the information directly here, or you can do a similar process as we did with the items, the inventory items and service items, in that you can import this information. So we're going to practice that again because the just putting it in this fashion is a pretty straightforward process. Let's take a look at the import process here, in which case we're going to basically make up our Excel sheet once again, upload this into the system, check that it's been uploaded correctly. Now, note that you can also add customers basically as you create invoices and forms. We'll do that later. Obviously, the customers are also going to be wanting to be put in place because when we use something such as if I say the plus button up top and we go to send an invoice, then part of the invoicing process will be that we're going to be setting up or sending these to customers typically. So the customer is going to be up top, and we could add a customer at that point in time as we create this information. So if you're talking about a sales receipt, that's going to be something that you create basically in the store, or an invoice, which is going to increase the accounts receivable. Then if it's a new client, new customers, that happens all the time. You can add the customer basically as you make the sales receipt. However, if you're starting a new system, then you probably want to have the customer list to pull over automatically into your new QuickBooks system so that you have them in that customer list. And if there are any outstanding balances, as there are here, then you want to include those outstanding balances as well. That's what we're going to be doing here. Back to the sales, and we're in the customers tab. So let's just create this Excel worksheet. I'm just going to show you how to put together the Excel worksheet that we can then upload. Obviously, we only have 3 customers here, so you could just enter this one at a time. It wouldn't take too long. But if you had many more than this, of course, it would take a long time, and it would probably be worth constructing something like an Excel sheet or exporting from whatever file you have, and then importing it into QuickBooks Online. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new Excel tab and just create this real quick. And I'm going to make this a little bit larger. I'm going to go down to the bottom. I'm going to make it, let's make it really big. Let's make it 170. And we're going to put the type of table that you would need in order to do the import process. So that we're going to need the header rows once again. The header rows, the minimum we're going to need is the name. So we're going to say name. We need the company, if that's different, and the customer balance, and then the opening balance as of date. So let's check that. Let's check the spelling on this. Let's see if I spelled things correctly. Wow. 4 things I spelled correctly. And I'm going to highlight all the rows. I'm going to make them a little bit larger. There we have it. Then I'm going to format these items. I'm going to highlight them again. I'm going to go up to the File tab, or the Home tab, I should say, Font Group, and we're going to bold them. And that tells Excel once again that they're going to be a heading. So we want to know what the headings are, so when we import it into the next system, it can basically read the headings and line that up to the heading columns. So then I'm going to center it, Home tab, Alignment, and Center. Then I'm going to make the name a little bit larger because I think the name and the company are probably going to need to be a little bit bigger. So I'll make them a little bit bigger, and then we would just simply add the names, which I'll copy and paste over. I'm going to say that we have Anderson. I'm going to say the company name is the same as the name. The balance we're going to have is 5,000. So we'll say 5,000, pull that over. And then we're going to have the opening balance as of date. Once again, note that it's going to have a journal entry when we do this, just like we did with the items. And so I don't want the journal entry to mess up anything on the temporary accounts, the income statement accounts for the current period, 2020. It shouldn't, because it should use some other account. In other words, the journal entry is going to increase accounts receivable, and where's the other side going to go? They might put it on the income statement, and I don't want it on the income statement in 2020 because that's going to mess up the current time period. So rather than putting anything in the current, if they do that, then we can do a journal entry and we can fix it. But I'd rather start the time period in January of 2020 and enter the beginning balances as of the prior period, so that if there's any problem, then it will be pulling in from the prior period. So that means I'm going to be entering this data in as of 12/31/19. So it's going to be as of the prior time period. And then in 2020, if it does anything funny, it should all roll over into equity and we'll be okay. So then we're going to go back and do the same for the next one. I'm going to say, all right, and let's just copy the whole thing now. It's pretty straightforward data. So we would then put in the next row, and this is how much they owe, and this is the date. Let's format the date the same, however. And then we'll do the next row, and those are our 3 items. So there's basically our table. And we'll provide this table if you don't want to do this data input process. We'll give you this Excel sheet, and you can import it into your practice problem without having to do the kind of tedious work of it. Although I think it's worth doing the tedious work to do it. And obviously, you don't want 2 tabs when you upload it. So when you upload it, you're only going to want the 1 tab, and then we'll go through the upload process. So next time, we're going to go back to QuickBooks Online, and we're going to go into the import file here. We'll go through the importing process of it, lining everything up, and then check the financial statements to see what it did in terms of accounts receivable and the supporting reports for it.